Let me understand, is that all of you know about customer tolerance and process tolerance? I have already given it in my
Yes, sir.
video.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes.
all right. So, customer tolerance means they are defined by the specification limits,
Yes.
upper specification limit and lower specification limit. Process tolerance is generally defined by control limits. So it is very important we understand the relative position of the control limit with respect to the specification limit. The relative position of the control limit with respect to the specification limit can speak about your capability, can speak about your process capability. So anyway, it's a short video. Let me play to help you understand how important it is, keeping the process tolerance smaller than the customer tolerance, right? So you have seen a video here, an elephant taking bath. What do you think? Is that no the elephant is really experiencing a challenge, or is it experiencing a pleasure while taking
Challenge,
bath?
sir.
It is definitely a challenge.
Challenge.
You know why it has become a challenge?
Size of tub is small.
Very good. The size of the sub is small compared to the size of the elephant. Similarly, if you make the size of your process tolerance bigger than the customer tolerance, process tolerance is under your control. Customer tolerance is not under your control. If your process tolerance is bigger than the customer tolerance, your business will also experience lot of challenges. There will be lot of rejections. All of you need to understand. And you can easily convert the situation from challenge to pleasure by adjusting the relative position of the control limit with respect to the specification limit. Here the elephant size is almost equal to the tub size, right? And what I will do is I will make the elephant size smaller compared to the tub size, and I will increase the size of the tub. And what you can do in your business, you can decide. I think you will have control only over the process tolerance. Let me play the video again. You will now able to understand whether it is a challenge or a pleasure. And now comparing the bathing process now. Is it now really a pleasure?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Now this is definitely a pleasure. The same way you can convert your business process from challenge to pleasure, by making sure your process tolerance is smaller compared to the customer tolerance. Because
Sir,
yes,
sir, it's pleasure, but the elephant is not concentrating on bathing now. He's playing around.
very good. So that can be your next level of improvement, right? But immediate improvement is this. The next level of improvement you can always.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, how do we, know what is the customer tolerance? For example, I'll give you one example. For example, from a telecom scenario. So,
Okay.
if a trouble ticket is raised from a customer, so my process says 4 hours, and suppose if the customer, tolerance is 2 hours, so I have to resolve it within 2 hours. Then the customer will experience happiness, or he will be delighted. Correct?
Correct.
So,
Exactly. See, if
no, but
you
how do I know, what customer they're expecting, whether he's expecting 2 hours, whether 4 hours? The challenge here is, in my scenario, like the customer tolerance can be different for different customers. Like some customers might be happy, must be having a tolerance of 2 hours. Some might be having a tolerance of 4 hours. Some may be having 8 hours. So how do I come to a conclusion, and where should I put that customer tolerance level?
right. See, that means, see, always, we cannot have a, a system for one or two cases. We always aim for a system to multiple a segment of so to take care of a segment of customers. Always the customers, each customer will have different perception. You have to look at overall what is the requirement. You might be having and let us say now there are so many participants, and now I cannot really make a program exclusively for you, but I can always make a program considering what is the overall requirement. When we get different participants, okay, what do they prefer? For example, our program is planned for 36 hours. Am I right? If I ask you individually, each one of you can give me a different value. For example, if we ask Shailesh may say, sir, you must conduct a program for 60 hours. And Raj Singh may say, sir, program should be for 40 hours. And Ramya madam may say, sir, program should be for 48 hours. Now, can I run different programs for each one of you?
No, definitely not. So
what should I do? I consider the average. I note down all your requirement. I take the average. Why should I take average? I can satisfy most of you.
There's a normal distribution process.
Yes.
Funda comes into
as we go progress, if you understand normal distribution, then I think your question will become very clear. So wait for it. All right. And so we can convert the situation from challenge to pleasure by adjusting the process tolerance with respect to the customer tolerance. So when your customer tolerance is the tough size and process tolerance also almost same, you will experience challenge, right? But when your customer tolerance and customer tolerance we define using the terms upper specification limit and lower specification limit. When customer says, no, I want a product with the dimension 100 mm, he will give tolerance 100 plus or minus 0.5. Now what is USL? 100.5. What is LSL? 99.5. Consider let us consider the delivery process. Let us take Swiggy or Zomato, right? And you are placing an order, and at the time of placing the order, Swiggy app will tell you it will take 40 minutes for us to deliver the food. It will take 40 minutes to deliver the food. And now what do you understand out of that? What is that 40? 40 is the customer targeted value. Am I right?
There's a higher limit.
Yeah, higher value. And if you order a food for which the commitment is 40 minutes, suppose will you tolerate plus or minus 5 minutes?
Yes.
Obviously, right? And so 40 plus 5, 45 will now be called USL. 40 minus 5, which is 35, will now be called LSL. So any process will have a target, will have upper specification, will also have a lower specification limit. And now I am running a process. For my process, there will be Sanjay, you have to mute yourself. Right. And process will have certain tolerance. Process will will set its own tolerance. We'll understand what is this process tolerance is defined by, on the right side it is upper control limit, on the left side is lower control limit. We'll also learn this. And now looking at this diagram, you can understand on the right side your control limits are placed inside the specification limit, or otherwise I would say your process tolerance is lesser than customer tolerance. That means your process is capable. But on the left side, your process tolerance is almost same, or suppose you see it bigger than the customer tolerance, definitely your process cannot be considered capable, because for sure it will produce some rejections, right? There will be failures definitely happening. Okay, once again, let me check my slide. Just give me a moment. Straight away it is jumping to statistics. Okay. Okay, it is correct only. No worries. So now I am going to teach you a little bit of statistics, so you will understand the importance of the numbers. See, basically statistics helps us to summarize any set of data with the central value. One of the central value is average, which we spoke just now, right? And the statistics will also help us to assess the degree of variation. What is the amount of variation my data possess? For example, when you say the average is 40 minutes, do you think every data will be 40? No. Data will have certain variation, right? So statistics will help you to understand the degree of variation. The same statistics will also help you to explore the possible difference between groups. For example, all of you are the 8th batch of the black belt. How was the performance of the first black belt batch? How was the performance of second black belt batch? And how is the performance of the 8th batch? I can always compare when I have some data from each batch. Attendance I can compare, your test performance I can compare, your interaction level I can compare. So with the numbers, with the statistics, I can explore possible difference between groups. See here, I have shown some number here. How many numbers are here? Can you tell me how many numbers are here?
12.
12. That is written here. And this is also a form of statistics. Instead of looking at the number, when I see there are 12 numbers, that is also a statistics. And then mean. Do you know what is mean?
Average.
Average. You add all the value, divide by 12, that is called mean. When you actually look at the data, each number is different from the mean.
Yes.
That is what you call it as variation. That variation can be measured using several tools. One of the parameter is variance. Another parameter is standard deviation. The variance and standard deviation, they have got a relationship between them. You know what it is? The square root of variance is called standard deviation.
Yes.
So if you find one, the other one can be found easily. Right. The another metric or another parameter which will talk about the variation is the range. What is range? The maximum minus minimum. Can you tell me what is maximum here in the 12 numbers?
10.
10.
That is written here. Maximum is 10. What is minimum here?
1.
1.
That is written here. And so the range is 9. Range is also a result of the variation in the data. If all the numbers are same, let us say I put all numbers are 6. Now what is maximum? 6. What is minimum? 6. Your range becomes 0.
0.
Your standard deviation will also become 0. Your variance will also become 0. If all the numbers are same, variation is at its low. That means variation is 0, right? So range, standard deviation, variance, everything is a measure of variation. Can I say like that? Right. Similarly, how your average is talking about the central tendency. Same way, your median will also talk about the central tendency. So you need to know the difference between average and the median. All of you know average, but median is nothing but the data point which will divide your data into exactly 2 of
Middlemost value.
the middle value. If you want to find out the middle value, first of all, you must arrange the number in ascending order and then find out the middle number. That will be the median, right? Do you understand? So after arranging all the number, now how many number you have? 12. Now what is the middle number? What is the middle number?
It can be 6, it can be 7.
Now it is an even number, right? It can be 6 or 7. You cannot say 6 or 7. It should be 6.5. N plus 1 by 2. It will be n plus 1 by 2. So 13 by 2, 6.5. Now the center point, the center point or the point which exactly divides your data into 2 of is the 6.5th term. That is also called as quartile 2. That is also called as quartile 2. Quartile 2 is nothing but that point which divides your data into exactly 2 half. Here, similarly, when I divide my data into exactly 4 half, first half, second half, third half, and fourth half. Now, the point below which 25% of the data exists is called quartile 1. Do you understand what is quartile 1? The point below 25% of the data exists. That point is called quartile 1. Similarly, quartile 3 means the point below which 75% of the data exists. That is called quartile 3. Now interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1. You have Q3, you have Q1, find out the difference. Now mode. Mode means most frequently occurring data. Do you see any number frequently occurring here?
3.
Mode is also a measure of central tendency. Please understand. Mode is also a measure of central tendency. So what are the measures of central tendency we are seeing here? One is average, another one is median, and now the third one is mode. All right. And now there is something called standard error of mean. Standard error of mean, I will teach you slightly later, but the formula you can learn here, but the concept I will teach you slightly later, right? And I think sum means the total, n for mode is 4, and all those things are very clear. Trimmed mean means the rounded value. 3.83 is rounded to 3.5. You can also round it to 4, right? This is called a trimmed mean, right? And now let us visualize. Now all the 12 numbers I have written here. Now I have written it in such a way that, yes.
Sir, can you please explain median once again? I have got till n plus 1 by 2. After that, what we should do?
Yeah, median, I told you it is also quartile 2, right?
Okay.
Right. If I teach you quartile 1 and quartile 3, then you can calculate quartile 2 yourself. Right. I will explain anyway. Don't worry. Can you see the same numbers now written in the ascending order?
Yes, sir.
All the 12 numbers in the ascending order. And now the standard error of mean formula only I will give. Standard error of mean is equal to standard deviation divided by square root of n. Now the standard deviation in the previous slide itself, standard deviation is there. 2.368. Only that standard deviation is available with me. 2.368 divided by 12. What is 12? Number of data. Now the resulting number is called standard error of mean. The practical meaning of it, we will explain. Otherwise, you can ask it, right? Note it down in one corner of your notepad. And now quartile 1. The formula is n plus 1 by 4th term. What is n? 12. So n plus 1 is 13. 13 by 4th term. 13 by 4th term means 13 by 4 is how much? 3.25. 13 by 4 is 3.25. So what is 3.5? Third term plus 25% of the gap between third and fourth term. Somebody tell me what is third term here?
2,
Very good. What is fourth term?
3,
What is the gap between the two? 1.
1.
So formula is third term plus 25% of the gap. Third term you said 2 and 25% of the gap is 25% of 1 is 0.25. Now 2.25 is your quartile 1. Do you all understand what is quartile 1?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Same way quartile 3. 3 into n plus 1 by 4th term. N is 12. 12 plus 1, 13. 13 into 3, 39. 39 by 4 is 9.75th term. That means 9th term plus 75% of the gap between 9th and 10th term. What is 9th term here in your series?
4,
What is 10th term? 10th term?
5.
Very good. Again, the gap is 1. So it is 4.75. Do you all understand?
Yes, sir.
Same way, can you now calculate Q2 and tell me? Q2 formula I told you, n plus 1 by 2 here. So 6.5th term.
So then why in Q1, why we are divided by 4?
Because, Q1 is the 25th percentile data. The first quarter ends at Q1. So first quarter means whole number divided by 4.
Then if I divide the whole data in 4 different quarters, then the formula should be same for all 4 quarters. Na? Q1 also formula same, Q2 also formula same.
No, how will you get? See here, you have 12 number. First division comes here. Second division comes here. Third division comes here. If you use same formula, every time you will come here only. Q1 means should come here. Q2 should come here. Q3 should come here. And so different places. So I just, use different formulas. Statistics guides you to go to the right place. That's all. Right. Understand? Q2, Can you tell me the Q2 value?
3.
Beautiful. Because there is no gap between 6th term and 7th term. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So 3 is your quartile 2. Quartile 2 is otherwise called what? The mean. Sorry, the median. Q2 is otherwise called the median. Now interquartile range also calculated. This information can now be visualized in the form of a box plot. This diagram is called a box plot, right? And see here, the first quartile is this line, Q1. The second line is quartile 2. You can also call it median. Third, this line is your quartile 3. Right? Now the box plot can be drawn. Look here, quartile 1, 2.25, quartile 2, 3, quartile 4, 4.75. Do you understand? But this kind of diagram will help us to quickly understand how our data is distributed. Whether you plot a histogram or you plot a box plot, almost everything is simply helping you to understand how your data is distributed. Right? Now your quartile 2 has a very small width. However, your quartile 3, the width is little large. Right? So you get some idea. And now you see one star here. This star is called whisker. What is this called? Whisker, not whiskey. This is whisker. Why is it called whisker? Because it is far, far away from your central value. Whenever a data point is far, far away from the central value, we consider that value as an outlier. Outliers are indicated as whiskers in box plot. If you get an outlier in your data, what is your understanding?
Special case.
Either it should be a mistake or it is really because of a serious problem in your process. Either it should be a mistake or it should be a serious problem. If it is a serious problem, what will you do? You solve the problem. If you solve the problem, the point will disappear. If it is a mere mistake, actually there is no problem, but it is a mere mistake. Then what should you do? Simply ignore your outlier so that your statistics will have a lot of meaning in real time. Understand? Right.
Yes.
We will touch all those things during the analysis phase. Now I am showing you a ring of fire. What I want is, I want each one of you to jump inside the ring of fire one by one. Will you be able to do it?
Yes, sir.
All of you are good at jumping? Yeah. When I asked to jump, then Prashant Kumar switched off his video. So all of you.
Sir, on center, sir.
So all of you, yeah. If you want to jump inside the ring of fire, at the same time you want to be safe, I am sure all of you will try to jump at the center. Why? Because at the center, the temperature is at its low, right? And this is called a central tendency. Always people tend to go to a point where the risk is very, very low. This is called a central tendency. Same way your business process will also have a central tendency. You must locate the central tendency in your process and check whether you maintain a low risk at the central tendency or not. Otherwise, your process will suffer with a lot of rejection, right? So that is one thing. So now your preferred point I have indicated in the form of an arrow. Now, when I want you to jump 100 times, will you be able to jump all 100 times at the same point? Impossible.
No, sir.
Always tolerance is required. Please understand. You cannot say I don't have tolerance. Always tolerance is required. So I am now enlarging it. A point now becomes a circle. And now the circle is visible to you. Now I want you to jump 100 times inside the circle and you have to jump within 30 minutes. Now, do you think you will make all 100 jumps successful?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Why no?
There will be always the chances of going out of the circle.
Whenever you repeat your process at the
Time tendency.
Yeah. When you have to execute your process multiple times within a shorter period of time, your capability might drop, isn't it? We call it inconsistency. That inconsistency can also be measured statistically, and that is what we call it variation in statistics. Imagine you are jumping 100 times. Half of the jump you are inside the circle and half of the jump you are in the you are outside the circle. And now I want you to jump another 200 times. Now some of your jumps came much outer. Now you are in the orange zone. When you are in the orange zone, your risk is very high because now you come close to the temperature. Am I right? When you are in the yellow, your risk is moderate. When you are in the white circle, you are almost safe. Now, what do you understand? How is your risk is increasing? Your risk is increasing as you move away from the central tendency.
Yes.
As long as you stay around the central tendency, you are safe. The moment you move away from the center, you are increasing your risk. Your business process will also have both. One is central tendency, another one is the risk. Central tendency can be measured using the statistical parameters mean, median, or mode. Your mean will speak about central tendency, median will speak about central tendency, mode will also speak about central tendency. What is your requirement? Your central tendency should be at the low risk point. And variation can be measured using the statistical parameter variance, standard deviation, as well as range. At particular time, range will help you. Certain time, standard deviation will help you. Sometimes variance will help you. You have to use them wisely. Same is the case with mean, median, mode also. We'll learn that we'll learn to use the mean, median, and mode in at appropriate situations, maybe probably during the measure phase.
Sir, one
Yes.
question, one doubt.
Yes.
So actually, whatever the chart I have used means from my last experience in X bar chart, IMR chart, means anywhere, everywhere I used to calculate mean. Can
Yes.
you elaborate me what is the use of median and mode?
Yes, but I can answer the question. I know the answer for your question, but I want to explain it slightly later. But definitely I will answer.
Okay.
There are different types of data available. Please note. You need to learn the fundamentals behind data types. There are qualitative data. There are quantitative data.
Oh, yes.
Within quantitative data, there are continuous data. There are discrete data. Within continuous data, you have two types: ratio data and interval data.
Okay.
Right? Ratio
Okay.
data, interval data, and so depending on the data type, mean is recommended. Whenever you have ratio, whenever you have interval data, you can use mean. Whenever you are using nominal or ordinal data, median will help you. Particularly the ordinal data. For ordinal data, median will help you. For nominal data, mode will help you. So what is this? All these forms of data we will be teaching you in the measure phase, and automatically your question will be answered. Not right?
Okay.
So I don't want to talk on that particular subject now. We will be teaching you properly in the measure phase. And now, the importance of central tendency, importance of variation, right? Both are understood. See to that you always center your process at a low risk point. See to that you keep minimum variation, because if you keep more variation, your risk will increase. You keep less variation, your risk will decrease. All right. It is something like another simple example. You have got a parking area and you have got 3 different cars. Parking area width is capital D. You have got 3 cars. One is bigger car, one is medium car, another one is small car. Now tell me, will you be able to park this bigger car inside the parking area?
No. No, sir.
Definitely your car will be
sir.
damaged.
Yes.
Whenever your process tolerance is more than customer tolerance, there will be damages, there will be rejections. Now coming to the next, the medium size car. It looks okay. Your car goes inside. But will you be able to open the door?
No, sir. No, sir.
Small shake, if it happens, suppose you shake a bit, now car will be damaged. So looks capable. The second one looks good, but in a longer term, longer perspective, it is dangerous. Understand? Coming to the last, your car size is very, very small compared to the parking area. Now can you park the car? Answer should be yes. Can you open the door? Answer should be yes. Suppose you shake a bit while driving, then also you are safely parking your car. And now which is better?
I don't know.
But when you are really designing a parking area or buying a car, you see to that you make the situation like the third one.
Yes.
Isn't it? Same way you have to think in your business also. If you keep your process tolerance much smaller compared to the customer tolerance, even if something goes wrong in your organization, in your absence somebody violates, then also still you produce products meeting your customer requirement. This is what Takuchi was also trying to convey to the entire world. Produce products around the target. Produce product around the nominal. Don't come to your risky zone. What are your risky zone? Closer to specification limit. Don't come. Right? Try to stay at the center. Now, in this parking example, what is upper specification limit? What is upper specification limit? Can you tell me? Oh, this thing. Sorry. Yeah, what is upper specification limit? The wall.
Wall width.
The wall on the right
wall
side.
height, yes, sir.
You don't like your car to hit that wall. Similarly, left side lower specification limit. Now, what decides the control limit here? Your car will have its own width.
Both are center, sir.
Otherwise, no, 4 people cannot sit inside your car. So this edge will be called what? Upper control limit. This edge will be called lower control limit. Now, while parking the car, you clearly ensured that your control limit stays inside the specification limit. That is why you are able to park your car safely. Same way you apply the logic in your business process. Everything you produce, your customer will be ready to buy. And now, I'm showing your aircraft runway. Aircraft runway. And now you are the pilot. What I want is, I want you to land the aircraft on the runway. There are 300 passengers inside your aircraft. And now in the runway, you can see several lines drawn. Center line and another line indicating the end of runway, another line indicating the end of runway on the left side. Now, when you have to land your aircraft from several miles above the ground, you want to land. Now, where will you try to land your aircraft?
Center line. Center line.
Why? What is the reason?
Targets would be center. Means if
Safety
To avoid
ensured.
any,
Safety ensured.
there isn't guarantee of safety.
Safety is center point.
Suppose you make any misjudgment, slightly you are going wrong, still you want to see that you are landing your aircraft in the runway.
It is a low risk point.
That is why we want you to always keep your central tendency right on the target. You told me here, sir, I will land in the center only because this is aircraft. There are 300 people inside and everybody risking their life. I don't want to take the risk. Now you are following Takuchi's philosophy. Unconsciously. Do it consciously. You will be a black belt. Right? If you do it unconsciously, you are an ordinary guy. But if you do it consciously, you are a black belt. Right? And see, I have shown few markings. These markings are nothing but your landing points. I wanted you to land the aircraft several times, maybe 100 times. Most of your landings are around the center line only. The simple reason is you wanted it. Simple reason is you wanted it. So central tendency will simply reflect your intention. Central tendency in any process will simply reflect the way you designed your process. Have you designed it correctly or not? Central tendency will speak about it. Am I right?
Yes.
Definitely, right? So I'm going to show you the other landings of yours and few landings you are making here. Now one landing is, now this landing is far away from the center. It is possible. It is possible. Now few more landing. Now you are landing on the left side and few more landing. Now you are landing on the right side. Now few more landing. Now do you see almost half of your landings are on the right side, half of your landings are on the left side, and most of your landings are on the center. This will definitely happen. If you produce products also, if you offer services also, sometimes you will drift to the right, sometimes you will drift to the left, and sometimes you will stay around the target, right? And when I visualize, it will look like this. A bell shape will automatically form. You can see this bell shape forming automatically with many of your data. I can simply collect all your height and plot a graph. I will see a bell shape. I collect all your weight. I collect all your sugar level, all your BP level, all your cholesterol level. Everything will follow this bell shape. If all these things are following bell shape, can the product dimension will also follow the bell shape? Definitely.
Yes, sir.
The compressive strength, tensile strength, the hardness. There are timelines that you are, what you call the delivery time, lead time, cycle time. Almost 90% of the critical to quality metrics will follow normal distribution. So simply by mastering the normal distribution, you can solve 95% of the problem. Remaining 5% of the problem may have a non-normal behavior. For that purpose only, you need to master the other distribution, right? And now, what is this line? Customer target. This line is customer target. And I am drawing, I am calculating an average. How do I calculate average here? By collecting data from your process, I calculate average. And now my average comes in line with the customer target. That means what? I have designed my process correctly.
Yes.
Designing the process doesn't mean you produce everything exactly the target. No. When you actually produce, you will drift to the right and left. That will happen. But average tells you the designing is okay. The intention is okay. All of you have joined the program with the proper intention to learn the body of knowledge. But whether you attend the classes properly, you learn properly, that's still there. No, the reality could differ. That is why we need to measure the variation also. Right. And now, this line, what is this line? The worst landing. Can I say this here? Your worst landing happens?
No, sir.
Yes.
Slightly inside? Right? This is your worst landing. Similarly, your worst landing on the left side is this one.
Yes.
The worst landings are nothing but the control limits. The worst output your process may produce are nothing but the control limits. Right? And now this arrow. What is this? The runway ends. Beyond which it is completely
Beyond the
danger.
process, yes.
So
Limit.
that is your upper specification limit.
Yes.
This end, your lower
Lower.
specification limit. So this is the customer target. This is your USL. This is your LSL. This is your upper control limit. This is your lower control limit. Right? And now, if the control limits are inside the specification limit, the pilot is safe to fly with. If the pilot keeps his control limit outside the specification limit, will you prefer to fly with him?
No.
No.
Definitely no, right? You don't want to risk your life. Same way, no customer can also assess your capability by knowing your control limit and specification limit. Control limit comes from your central tendency and variation, right? So now I think you all will be able to correlate the Takeuchi's philosophy of producing parts around nominal. What is nominal? The target, right? Don't try to deviate the target. Try to go closer to the target. And now I will show you 3 different pilots. Already one pilot, green color, and another pilot lands like this, right? You have now 3 options: a red color pilot, and yellow pilot, and green pilot. Whom will you prefer for your journey?
Green.
Why? Because the central tendency is also at the desired point.
Yes.
Importantly, he is consistently landing here. But this fellow definitely you don't like. What is the problem here? Can you tell me? Is it the problem is central tendency or variation?
Central tendency or variation.
Not with variation.
In all the three cases, in all the 3 cases, variation is same, almost same. Variation is almost same.
Target
It's not
limit.
capable,
Not
sir.
accurate,
Process is
sir.
not capable.
Target is not accurate, sir.
Pilot is not capable.
The green color, central tendency is also okay, variation also okay. In yellow color, variation is okay, but central tendency is not okay. Variation is very less. See here. Almost all the landings are at the same point. Variation is less. Variation is not giving you trouble. But what is giving you trouble? Central tendency. That means you have to redesign. You have to consider analyzing, the reason for the problem, and then you have to correct it. And this fellow, central tendency is a bigger problem. He is far, far away. But in all the 3 cases, variation is okay. If you get points scattered here and there, that is problem due to variation, right? We'll understand all those things. So customer target will reflect in your process average. Are you staying closer to the customer target or not? Have a look at the process average. And then drift in the process. Like when you are landing the aircraft, you might drift to the right or you might drift to the left. Really, drifting is unpreferred thing, isn't it? And that is statistically called variation. Higher variation means there will be higher drift, and so it lead to unhealthy scenario. And customer limits are nothing but upper specification limit and lower specification limit. Whenever you cross this limit, customer will reject your product. When customer rejects your product or customer finds a problem, that failure is called the external failure. Don't allow the customer to detect a failure. Instead of that, you can detect the failure in-house by keeping an eye on your control limit. The moment any product goes outside the control limit, a company knowing Six Sigma will consider that as a failure. Do you understand? Control limit is inside specification limit. You are producing outside the control limit. Customer is still ready to buy your product. A company practicing Six Sigma will not sell such product because they know that product will pull down your image very soon if you send it to the market, isn't it? So no, the failure to produce products inside the control limit is called what? Internal failure. All right. And now statistics, the standard deviation. All of us know